Hello and welcome to Logan Rando Aquascaping.
My name is Logan, and by now you're probably wondering why I had a bucket on my head. That's because the topic of today's video is the 5 essential tools for planted aquarium maintenance. And I had to have the honorary mention of the 5-gallon bucket at the top of the video. I thought it was kind of too obvious to put it on the list itself, so it's an honorary mention. If you're part of the bucket brigade and you do your water changes in the 5-gallon buckets and lug them over to the sink, or even if you're transporting soaking wet lily pipes across the house, a 5-gallon bucket is just absolutely essential. So run over to your local hardware store, pick up 1, 2, or 3, and you'll be good to go. So now let's dive into the real list, which is the 5 essential tools for planted aquarium maintenance. Coming in at number 5 is hosing with a ball valve. So fairly early on in your planted aquarium career, you'll probably very quickly realize water changes can be a pain in the butt. I mean, some weirdos like me enjoy them and find them therapeutic, but a lot of people simply get out of the hobby because they find water changes to be cumbersome and a waste of your time. So with that in mind, you're gonna wanna make them as convenient and as efficient as possible. And many of us use some sort of hosing to fill our aquariums from the tap, be it your spigot outside or the kitchen sink, to the aquarium. And in order to do this efficiently and safely, you want to be able to control the flow. So I recommend getting some sort of DIY system in place that involves tubing of a diameter of your choice. And with the ball valve, you can reduce the flow and the pressure and add the water very slowly. This is especially useful for somebody like me who does their water changes from their outdoor spigot. So the water comes in very cold, and I like to add it very, very slowly so that I don't shock my delicate carotidina. And I've been doing this method for a couple years now, and it works fantastic. So you can put all this together for really just a few bucks if you go and pick up the materials at your local hardware store. But I'll go ahead and link my good friend Jurijs' video from just a few years ago, where he kind of shows you the step-by-step process of how to put together a water change system like the one I'm using. So check the description for that. Coming in at number 4 is the electric toothbrush. Now I'm gonna take a wild guess and say that many of you have probably used a toothbrush to do some aquarium maintenance in the past. But I would guess that only a select few of you use an electric toothbrush. And I'm always a little bit surprised to see how many people don't employ this method of mechanical cleaning, because a toothbrush is godsend when it comes to aquarium maintenance. But an electric toothbrush makes your life that much easier, and they're fairly inexpensive. I personally use the Crest spin brush. It has replaceable heads, takes 2 AA batteries, and the batteries last a long time, and depending on how hard you're using the brush itself, you'll only have to replace the heads, say, maybe once a year. They're completely waterproof, so you could submerge them as low and as long as you want in the tank, and it won't do any damage. I've been using the same toothbrush for a couple years now, and I haven't had to replace it. So can't recommend an electric toothbrush enough. Go ahead and pick one up and make your maintenance that much easier. Coming in at number 3 is hydrogen peroxide. So when it comes to aquarium maintenance, hydrogen peroxide for me is really the closest thing I found to magic in a bottle. And I vastly prefer it over using something like a glutaraldehyde, which is basically what C-Chem-Excel is. I find that hydrogen peroxide is actually more effective more quickly, and it's quite a bit safer. If you think about the chemical name, hydrogen peroxide, it's really just a bunch of hydrogens and oxygen put together. And when it reacts with algae or bacteria, it breaks down into oxygen and water, so you don't have to worry about any sort of toxic byproducts. So the cool thing about hydrogen peroxide is that it's selectively toxic, meaning that it's really only going to target the algae and the bacteria that you treat it with, much more than it will target, say, a plant or an animal. As always, when you're working with chemicals in the tank, avoid getting anything directly in the path of your fish or your invertebrates. But it's not going to damage your plants too bad unless you significantly overdose, where it's really gonna do a number on algae and bacteria. What it does is it basically breaks down their cell walls by bonding to them and deconstructing them completely, thus weakening and ultimately killing nuisance algae and bacteria. So I really like to spot dose individual problem leaves. If I have a BBA outbreak, a couple times I'll spot dose that, and it really just works wonders. As always, gotta leave the disclaimer, if you are dealing with a severe algae or bacteria outbreak, you gotta address the root issue. Hydrogen peroxide is not gonna solve it, but it is a good member of your arsenal as long as you address the root. Coming in at number 2 is the razor scraper. So I would guess that many of you have used a credit card at one point or another to clean the glass of your aquarium. And that's totally cool. It works just fine. But if you want to step your game up significantly, I can't recommend a razor scraper enough. It's gonna make your maintenance that much more efficient and comfortable. The thing about the razor scraper that's so awesome is it often comes on a pole with some extensions, so you're not gonna have to break your back or get your armpits soaking wet, getting algae off your glass. You can just kind of stand back, let the razor do the work, and have sparkling clean glass that's algae free. So can't recommend one of these enough. And coming in at number 1 are wave scissors. So there are all different shapes and sizes of scissors for trimming aquarium plants, but if I had to pick just one to keep and ditch all the other types, I would go with the wave scissors simply because of their versatility. So pretty much every maintenance session I do, I'm always doing some sort of trimming. And the thing about wave scissors that I love is because of their shape, I find that they're just totally versatile. They're excellent for getting really down low and hacking down a carpet. They can get into the corners of your tank, and they're really just great for trimming off individual leaves. So if I had to pick just one type of scissor to keep, I would go with the wave scissors. But in a perfect world, you have scissors that are great for each and every type of situation. And there's so many to choose from. So as always with aquascaping tools, if you splurge and get a really good brand, you're probably only gonna have to buy once and you'll have your scissors for life. But if you're brand new to the hobby or you're on a budget, head on over to Amazon, get yourself a budget pair, and they should last a few years and get the job done. If you find you're addicted to the hobby, I recommend splurging on a really good pair, because once you have a nice pair of scissors, man, is it a lot better. So that's all the time we have for today. I wanted to keep this list really short and simple, so I know I probably left out some essentials, but these were the top 5 that came to mind for me. But do me a favor and let me know down below in the comments if you think there's a tool that absolutely should have been on this list. I love learning about new maintenance techniques and little hacks, anything to make it a more enjoyable, easy process. I think is just really cool. So let me know in the comments what you would add, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.